Hello, friends. According to your faith, let it be done to you as well. These words often appear in the Gospels. When people came to Jesus with a need, he paid attention to their faith, which they demonstrated through words or actions. It is evident that our faith is connected to God's actions in life. Due to the unbelief of his hometown's inhabitants, Jesus was unable to perform miracles. And the apostles could not heal a young man due to their lack of strong belief. During the storm when the disciples nearly drowned, Jesus rebuked them for what? For disbelief. And almost every time when a person was healed, Jesus would say to him, according to your faith be it unto you, or your faith has saved you. He said this to the blind Bartimaeus, the cleansed leper, the woman suffering from bleeding, and also to the centurion who asked for the healing of his servant, and so on, to many, many others. Today, let's delve deeper into what faith truly is, how we can actively develop it, and how it is intricately connected to God's action in our lives. So what is faith? First and foremost, faith is how we perceive God. It is confidence in the unseen. We do not see God, but by faith we accept the truth that God exists. After accepting the belief in God's existence, the next steps are to develop faith in his nature, thoughts, desires for me, and how he relates to me. And the Bible becomes for us a vital source that shapes and firmly affirms our faith. Faith arises by hearing, says the apostle. To strengthen faith, deeply study the Bible and affirm beliefs based on its teachings. Without knowing the Bible, we will have a distorted opinion of God or an uncertain conviction about him and his character. Reading the Bible, we see the truth about a good, loving, merciful God who wishes us well. Being affirmed in this belief, it becomes easier for us to accept his goodness personally for ourselves and for our unique circumstances. Any prayer addressed to God must be connected with faith. With unwavering faith that God exists and that he can help me, let's read this aloud together wherever we are. And without faith, it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. One must believe in God's existence, goodness, and wisdom. And this sets one on a quest for God and his answer. God rewards those who seek him. He rewards both believers and those who actively seek. And there is a significant difference between a believer and a devoted believer who is actively seeking God. God rewards seekers, not just believers. What makes this person unique? Let's look at the character of a seeker through the example of King David, a man after God's own heart. First of all, this is a person of prayer, desiring closeness to God. Oh God, you are my God. Early will I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you in a dry and thirsty land where there is no water. So I have looked for you in the sanctuary to see your power and your glory, says David. Such a person sees the source of strength in God, knows that God exists, that he will help me, and I will seek him. Secondly, a person seeking God is a person of hope. David says, I sought the Lord, and he heard me and delivered me from all my fears. He seeks the Lord in times of trouble, realizing that only the Lord can help him. For them, no other source provides strength or hope. There is nothing else he can rely on. Thirdly, a person seeking God is a person who listens. In the Bible, the phrase to seek the Lord is often synonymous with to inquire of the Lord. In the Bible, we repeatedly see that in difficult situations, David sought God's guidance. What does it mean? This means that he was seeking God's guidance, his word for the situation he was in. God guides and speaks to us. Often it's an inaudible voice that you need to learn to distinguish among other voices. It is often like a gentle breeze, but he guides those who seek him. In the first book of Chronicles, chapter 14, it's noted that as soon as David became king of all Israel, enemies immediately appeared. And verse 10 says, and David inquired of the Lord, and he said, shall I go? Will you deliver them into my hand? And God said, go. David led an attack and won a great victory. And after that incident, practically in the very next verse, we read that the same enemies came again. They craved revenge. They settled in the same valley. The same David stood against them, and the same God was there. And verse 14 says, and David inquired of God again. And God said that he should change his tactics. God still intends for David to be victorious. but a different approach was needed. You can't behave like you did last time, even if nothing has changed at all. A seeking person earnestly asks God, who generously gives clear direction for each day and brings a new victory. And we read further, "And it shall be, when you hear a sound of marching in the tops of the mulberry trees, then you shall go out to battle, for God has gone out before you to strike the camp of the Philistines." David had to perceive this divine movement of the Spirit of God that went before him. Friends, we also need to grow in our understanding of where God is leading us in our lives. Often the key factor in achieving victory depends on whether we have fully grasped where God is leading us. And the fourth and final characteristic of a seeker is a humble and obedient person. The story we just read concludes with the words, "So David did as God commanded him." Sometimes, as in this story, it is obedience in a specific situation. Sometimes it is obedience to well-known Christian commandments. A psalm states, "With my whole heart I have sought you. Oh, let me not wander from your commandments." So let's summarize what we've discussed. Firstly, there is a difference between just a believer and a believer who is also a seeker. Secondly, we said God rewards who? Believers and seekers. The seeker is a person of prayer, desiring closeness to God, relying on Him, inquiring, seeking His guidance, and obedient to God. God generously rewards such a true believer and diligent seeker. We are going to talk about this today.